when Zidane was the best player on the planet, and still no club wanted him. Zidane is not only the most artistic and outstanding player of all time, but he is also an unquestionable pillar of the all-time dream squad of all those who truly understand football history. The very definition of a master on the pitch. He is a magician, pure brilliance. Then why is it that, at the start, no club wanted him? Many consider him a genius, while others see him as a villain. He was a footballer who gave a nation new hope. What's so heartbreaking is that people think Zidane was a gifted player who always had it easy. This is annoying, because it overshadows his hard work and the struggles he had before he achieved the spotlight. He was 25 years old when he first arrived in Italy, so it's not as if he wore a Juventus shirt from birth. So that's 8 seasons and 265 matches after. The majority of football fans are unaware of it. Some have heard the classic narrative of how Kenny Dalglish urged the owner of Blackburn to hire Zidane a year before his transfer to Turin, only for him to mock Zidane in comparison to Tim Sherwood, whom they already had. Now, the world has come to the conclusion that he is unquestionably great. However, Zidane, like all unique football players, was first difficult to understand. He was a bit odd. You can't even blame the amateurs when even top talent scouts were unable to recognize him and considered him a thin, clumsy midfielder with little charm or toughness. Wenger, who later discovered a failing French player in Italy and transformed him into the Premier League's most deadly striker, even he rejected Zidane. For a long time, just a few individuals saw his true ability. Zidane is the superstar who could be your next-door neighbor, and you wouldn't even know. That's how down-to-earth he is. It can be said that his calm, reserved attitude made it difficult to recognize his extraordinary talent. After France won Euro 2000, most players simply celebrated in whatever manner they could. But Zidane, the event's MVP who had led his team to victory, traveled down to Marseille before going on vacation to hug his mother. That's when he learned that Robert Centenaro was in the hospital fighting death. Zidane postponed his trip to accompany him during his final days. But why was he so significant to him? The story takes place back when Zinedine still went by the name Yazid. Centenaro was the first to scout Yazid, and even if he could only take him to a little local club that was known as Septimes de Valence. However, it still meant a lot to him. Zinedine once said that Centenaro did everything for him. He drove him to training and gave him money to purchase meals on weekends. He was like a father to him. Centenaro helped Yazid meet the one man who could have had a significant effect on his career, Monsieur Varad. A year after meeting, Centenaro persuaded Yazid to participate in an Cannes competition for schoolboys to be scouted. However, Yazid was benched. Then, like in any story of a main character, just when it looked like it was impossible for him to shine, the guy who was playing in his position accidentally broke his wrist and was taken to the hospital. So Yazid took up his part and delivered an incredible performance. Unfortunately, Monsieur Varad, who was the scout, volunteered to drive the injured child to a hospital. So he never saw Yazid play. It took 2 years and 3 months for the two to meet again. How did this happen? It's like a perfect fairy tale. Varad came to watch a trial for an interleague tournament. The player that he had come for was benched. He stumbled into the father of the boy he had driven to the hospital years earlier. While they were in the middle of their conversation, number 13 player really stood out from the rest, and Varad couldn't help but ask about him. The man responded that this is the same kid who played in place of his son that day, Yazid. Varad believed he had found the next great French player in Yazid, despite the fact that he was not chosen by the trial organizers. Despite not being authorized to bring players to the club, Varad persuaded a Cannes director to see the boy, and Yazid recalls the game vividly. He claims that he was not very good, and they played him all the way back in defense. But he wanted to impress so badly that I risked everything. In the end, they wanted him. In fact, Jean-Claude Ellenot wanted him so desperately at his club that when Yazid's parents insisted that he not live in an academy without proper parental oversight, he requested him to stay in his son's bedroom, who had left for military service. He raised him alongside his 2 other children. Despite his introvert behavior, Zinedine was notorious for his terrible temper. He would strike back at anybody who mocked his family or roots in the slums. It wasn't long before he received a red card for hitting another player. Jean-Claude explained, "This is the curse of the gifted player. You must learn to disregard their remarks, or you will spend the rest of your life on the sidelines, watching others compete. To relieve stress, consider cleaning the locker rooms." Yazid took that literally and was discovered with a bucket and mop the next day, after everyone else had departed. According to one of the coaches, Yazid served as an example. He rarely talked, preferring to listen before acting. Yazid was not getting the spotlight anytime soon. He was called up for the French under-17s for the first time, but his name was mistaken for someone else. He was still a nobody to the world. Without Varane, it would have taken him a long time to make it to the first team, as the senior team manager would describe it. Varane invited him to come observe the kid train. Despite him claiming that he was fatigued, the latter pushed him to watch him. He says he gave it a look. For 25 minutes, I couldn't take my eyes off him. He was mesmerized. He didn't realize Yazid was still just 16. Yazid started practicing with the first squad and made his debut after a few months. In fact, when he received €5,000 in prize money for his first appearance, he was overjoyed, saying it was 5 or 6 times more than he had in his account. He gave some to his mother and purchased new trousers. Nevertheless, that day he realized he had the potential to become a professional. The board intervened, thereby prohibiting the coach from allowing him to play. They even referred to him as a dancer, claiming that a failing team cannot allow a kid to decide their fate. They said they weren't spending thousands of dollars on wages only to keep the more experienced players on the bench. Yazid was unconcerned and continued to work hard. He practiced his touch against a wall in training every day, and after a season of not playing, they eventually allowed him to play. When Zidane entered the pitch, the other 10 players improved significantly. It was that simple. It was magical. That was exactly what occurred. That year, Yazid became Zidane. Not only did Cannes play the best league campaign in their history, but he was also the main protagonist. He went so far as to ensure that the single goal he scored, his first in his career, was named the Goal of the Year. The club's president praised the young player for his amazing goal. He received a car as a prize. Cannes hadn't been in Leeds' top 10 for 44 years, and all of a sudden they were 4th place and had qualified for UEFA Cup. There was just one issue. Zidane was required to serve in the military at the time and also had to play for his team. They allowed him to travel back and forth, and Marcel opted to wait until New Year's for his discharge. Unfortunately, as a result of Zidane's time between the army and the Cannes club saw a significant dip in performance and was eliminated in the second round. They were sitting below the relegation line in the UEFA Cup. Zidane had lost his spark and his appeal to the audience. The year ended and Zidane was struggling to regain his form. He even picked up some injuries. Marcel declined to sign him, breaking their promise. Their management criticized him for being too slow. While Marseille's were close to winning the Champions League, Zidane was close to becoming a nobody again after tasting the glory. However, a miraculous event occurred. Zidane and Christopher Dugarry were able to play for freshly promoted Bordeaux thanks to manager Roland Courbis. Zidane reached a whole new level. Bordeaux's leading scorer, Zidane, had 10 league goals. Zidane not only received the League's Young Player of the Year title, but he was also called up to the French national squad for the first time. He wanted to make it as memorable as possible. In his debut encounter, France was down 2-0 against the Czech Republic. After 60 minutes, Xhaka took a gamble by replacing Martins with Zidane, which resulted in a straightforward victory. With 5 minutes remaining, Zidane grabbed the ball, passed one player, then two, and scored from 30 yards out. He leveled it with a powerful header. As the cameras focused on the bench, you could see everyone thinking that they have finally found the man they were looking for. This is how Zidane, the headbutt king and the best midfielder, rose to fame. Join our channel for jaw-dropping football stories and unforgettable moments.